Namaste and welcome to Hatha Yoga, Vinyasa Flow Yoga. My name is Michelle, and for this practice, you'll want to have 2 blocks and a strap. Let's begin in some version of turning open the thighs and external rotation, as we'll be focusing physically on that specific type of hip openers. You might, if you find that your knees are lifting uncomfortably away from the ground, try to elevate your pelvis, maybe place a couple of blocks like this side by side to sit on top of. And as you sit towards the front edge of it, you can tilt the pelvis forward and relieve any tightness in the hip flexors, let the knees drop more easily. So in Tuesday's yin class yesterday, I started talking about 10 mindfulness attitudes that you can practice to counteract anxiety. And I wanted to continue because I listed the first 5 yesterday. I wanted to continue with the last 5 today. So this is actually from mindful.org, which is an online magazine, and it's extracted from a larger program called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction for Anxiety. And it was written by Bob Stahl, PhD, Florence Malayo-Meyer, and Lynn Corbell. So let's go into the last 5. So another attitude for cultivating mindfulness to help relieve anxiety is non-striving. And it's the quality of being willing to meet any experience as it is, without trying to change it, without clinging to or rejecting what's happening in the moment. Now, this doesn't in any way negate when you're trying to set an intention to change the way your relationship with anxiety in daily life. This is more in the situation as it happens. So in the midst of strong anxiety, the first response when you're triggered is often to flee or get out of the situation. If you can pause and really be with your experience when it comes up without exerting any force against it, you gain the opportunity to know your experience more clearly and to choose your response. You can also become less fearful of the physical sensations that are happening, the thoughts that are coming up, and the emotions that accompany anxiety. Attitude number 7, self-reliance. It's an important quality for developing inner confidence. With practice, you can learn to trust yourself and your ability to turn toward your anxiety or any other uncomfortable feeling. In turning toward these feelings, it's important to bring other qualities of mindfulness to your experience, like allowing the feelings, acknowledging them, and letting them be. Remember our technique called RAIN, the acronym. Number 8 is the attitude of letting be or allowing. And it's similar to non-striving. It's what allows you to create space to whatever you encounter in the moment. For example, anxiety comes up as you meditate, and you could choose to work with it by allowing the feeling of anxiety to be there. In time, you can learn to ride a wave of anxiety until it dissipates, just as a storm runs its course in the sky. Remembering that anxiety is not permanent. Number 9, self-compassion. It's a beautiful quality of meeting yourself with kindness. Sadly, so many people are their own greatest adversaries or enemies. Most of us probably would never treat another person the way we sometimes treat ourselves. Self-compassion will naturally grow as you practice meditation. And bringing this quality into your experience of anxiety can be like being your own best friend in the midst of hardship, offering your hand in a moment when help is needed. As your self-compassion grows, you will come to know that you are there for yourself, and your anxiety will naturally decrease. Lastly, number 10, balance, and equanimity. These related qualities foster wisdom and provide a broader perspective so that you can see things more clearly. From this perspective, you understand that all things change and that your experience is so much wider and richer than the temporary experiences of anxiety and other difficulties. So which of these last 5 mindfulness attitudes really hits home today? Pick one that you really focus on and try to integrate as we're practicing the physical yoga and later in meditation. So again, non-striving, self-reliance, letting be or allowing, self-compassion, and balance and equanimity. Let's begin by checking in. As you're sitting tall and comfortably, notice the sensations in your body. What are you feeling right now physically? Notice the qualities of the breath just as it is. What are you feeling right now energetically? Notice any patterns in your thoughts, what your mind is attending to or has been attending to. How do you feel mentally and emotionally? As you inhale a deeper breath, press into the surface below your pelvis. Exhaling through your mouth, lift tall through the center of your spine. Slowing down the breath, take your time to reach the very top of the in-breath, that feeling of expansion, and the very bottom of the out-breath, that feeling of emptiness. Keep slowing the breath down as you call to mind something that you feel gratitude for in this moment. Energized by gratitude, set your intention for today's practice. Might you choose one of those 5 mindful qualities to practice strengthening, embodying? And then choose someone to dedicate your practice to today, someone you'd like to extend the energy of loving kindness to. Let's set our intentions and dedications while creating resonance to share our practice in by chanting Om 3 times. Om. Om. One powerful tool that we have in the yoga practice is skillful breathing techniques that help to regulate our energy, our minds and bodies. I invite you into the practice of Ujjayi Pranayama, or victorious breathing technique, which helps to calm the nervous system, focus, calm the mind and the body. So it's done by closing your lips and softly narrowing the back of your throat and intentionally creating a whispering sound that you can listen to as you breathe slowly and evenly in and out through your nose. Listen to that sound a few cycles here. And see if you can keep that sound as consistent as possible throughout this physical yoga practice, the asanas. Let's move to that sound. So as you're sitting cross-legged now, I invite you to switch the cross, the shin that's forward on top, and we'll start to warm up the area of the pelvis. Press down through your sitting bones and through your palms, and start to circle your spine all the way around. Breathe in, breathe out. A few circles in one direction, and a few circles in the opposite direction. Feel your weight shift throughout the bottom of your pelvis, from your pubic bone to your tailbone and your left and right sitting bones. What sensations are you feeling around your hips? Let's make our way to stand in mountain pose at the top of your mat. Now, you might want to have 2 blocks in front of your mat so that if the ground feels too low to press your hands into, when you come into a half forward fold, you can press into the blocks. Step your feet apart hips distance, parallel your second toes to each other, and stand tall. Join your hands together at your heart center and listen to the sound of your breath. Remember your intention. And let's move to the breath with that intention as the quality that we're embodying as we move. Starting our sun salutations, offering gratitude to the sun. Surya Namaskar Si. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead and gently coil your chest up. Exhale, bow from the hips and feel free to bend your knees if that allows you to bow more easily. Plant the fingertips on the ground. Inhale, step your left knee behind you to a kneeling lunge and gaze up. As you hold your breath, step into plank, top of a push-up. Exhale, lower your knees, then your chest, then your chin in Ashtangasana. Inhale, slide forward onto your belly, entering Cobra. Root down to the tops of your feet. Exhale, tuck your toes and lift your hips back into downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot beside your left thumb and lower your right knee, gazing up. Exhale, step your right foot forward and bow. Inhale, rise all the way up. Gently drop the shoulders, lift your heart towards the sun. Exhale, join your palms in prayer at your heart. One more time, side 2. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, arms overhead. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Plant the fingertips down. Inhale, step the right knee back and look up in Anjaneyasana. As you hold your breath, step into plank pose. Ashtangasana, exhale, lower knees, chest, then chin. Bhujangasana, inhale, slither forward and draw the shoulders back into Cobra pose. Adho Mukha Svanasana, exhale, lift the hips back into downward facing dog. Inhale, step the right foot forward beside your right thumb, lower your left knee and gaze up. Exhale, step your left foot forward and bow. Inhale, slowly rise, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands together in Padasana. Moving on to sun salutation A. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, fold Uttanasana. Press your fingertips on your blocks or the floor and inhale, lengthen forward into a half forward fold, Ardha Uttanasana. Step into plank pose, and as you engage the belly, exhale, glide forward, bend your elbows to hug your side ribs in Chaturanga Dandasana. Lower to Cobra or flip the toes here into upward facing dog. Exhale into downward facing dog. Let your body be still as you steady your gaze for 3 deep breaths. When you've emptied the third breath, walk or lightly jump to the front of your mat, forward fold. Press your blocks to the floor. Inhale, half forward fold, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands in prayer in mountain pose, Padasana. One more time, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, half forward fold. Step back to plank and lower, or lightly float into Chaturanga Dandasana if you practice jumping. Take it through your Vinyasa. Pausing for 3 breaths in Adho Mukha Svanasana. When you've emptied the third, walk or float to the front of your mat, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Root down, inhale, rise to Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Padasana. Bring the feet together to touch, and let's practice Surya Namaskar B. Bend your knees together to touch. Inhale, sit low in chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, half forward fold, Ardha Uttanasana. Insert your Vinyasa here. When you arrive in downward facing dog, inhale, raise your right leg back. Exhale, step the foot forward beside your right thumb and spin your left heel down. Inhale, rise up to stand in Warrior One. Exhale, lower into your Vinyasa. Let your breath lead. Inhale, raise your left leg back. Exhale the foot beside your left thumb and spin your right heel down. Inhale, rise up to Warrior One. Exhale, lower into your Vinyasa. Pausing again for 3 breaths or more. Stabilize the rhythm of your breath. Come back to your intention. What attitude of mindfulness are you focusing on today? When you're ready, step or float to the front of your mat. Inhale, half forward fold. Exhale, fold. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, mountain pose. One last time, inhale, chair. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half fold. Step or float, take it to your Vinyasa. From downward dog, inhale, raise your right leg back. Exhale the foot beside your right thumb, spin the left heel down. Inhale, rise up to Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale into your Vinyasa. Side 2, take it all the way on your own. Pausing again in downward facing as you cultivate stillness, rebalancing 3 breaths, and steadying your gaze. When you're ready, walk or float to the front of your mat. Inhale, half fold. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale to mountain pose. Let's step the feet apart a little wider than hips distance. And from your hip sockets, rotate your thighs externally. Bend your knees and either have your feet wider than hips width, so your knees are right on top of the ankles in a high squat, like a horse pose, or sink your pelvis to hover off the ground like this. Do what is not straining for you that you feel ready for. If you're down low, you could splay your thighs apart with your elbows and join your hands in prayer at your heart. Lift tall through your spine, roll your shoulders back and down, and tune into 3 more deep breaths. How does it feel to pause after that continuous movement? How does your mind react? Practicing self-study. Svadhyaya. Now you can step back to downward dog or take a crow pose if you're feeling fiery and know how to practice crow. From crow, you could also float back into a vinyasa or take a vinyasa on your own. We'll meet in downward facing dog. When you arrive in downward dog, bring your feet together to touch. Rotate your right thigh externally at the hip. And as you flex your right foot, cross your right ankle above your left knee onto your thigh. Use your hands to press the ground away as you lift your hips high and back. Relax your neck. A few breaths in figure 4 shaped downward facing dog. So making sure you're flexing your right foot here, spread the toes back towards your right shin to help stabilize your right knee as you're opening at the hip. Inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Exhale, slowly touch the right knee outside your right tricep, outer upper arm. Step the foot as quietly as you can on the right side of your right hand and lower the left knee. Place your hands on blocks if the floor feels too low. Lizard lunge, breathe in, look up, breathe out, stay here a few breaths, draw the right outer hip back. Option to flex the right foot and splay the right thigh open. Option to lower your forearms down. We've got about 3 more deep breaths here. Now with your right foot flat on the floor and facing forward, tuck the left toes, place your hands on blocks of the floor as we come into a wide version of pyramid pose. Lift your left knee, draw the right hip back, and start to straighten your legs as you bow with a long spine inside of the right shin. Open up the space at your throat and draw your shoulder blades down the back. Option to lift the ball of your right foot and flex the foot if your right hamstring feels very open. Last few breaths here in this wide version of Parsvottanasana. Spin the left heel down and align your right heel to intersect the arch of your left foot. Then windmill the arms to rise into Warrior Two, where we'll set up for extended side angle pose. So use your right hand and rotate the right outer hip under you. See that your right kneecap is pointing out towards your right pinky toe. Use your left hand to press the top of your left thigh bone back, firm in the lower belly, and with your right knee bent, glide your hips towards the back of your mat and stretch your torso towards the front. Start by placing your right forearm on your right thigh and gently push off of the thigh. Raise the left arm up, and from the shoulder socket, spin the tricep to face the left wall. Then extend the left arm overhead. Draw the shoulders down the back and spin your chest slightly to face the sky. Keep wrapping the right outer hip under you. Now, if it's available, you could place the right hand on the right side of your right leg, whether on a block or the floor. making sure that you're continuing to lengthen the right side of your torso. Find a focal point to steady your gaze on for 4 more breaths. Utthita Parshvakonasana, extended side angle pose. Pressing down through both feet, inhale, rise up to peaceful warrior, side bending towards your rear wall. Raise your right arm overhead. Exhale your hands to the floor, optional vinyasa or cat-cow, or step right into downward dog. When you arrive in downward dog, step your feet together to touch. Turn out your left thigh at the hip. And as you flex your left foot, cross the ankle over your right thigh above the knee. Press the ground away evenly through both hands and relax your neck. How is your breath? Draw your hips up and back while firming in your belly. 3 more breaths in figure 4, downward dog. Inhale, lift your left leg behind you. Exhale, tap the knee outside your left upper arm. Lightly step the foot on the left side of your left hand and lower your right knee for lizard lunge. Feel free to grab blocks to place your hands on. Feel free to flex the left foot and splay the left thigh open. You might come down into your forearms. Tune into about 4 more deep breaths. Drawing your left outer hip back. Lengthen your chest forward. Now set your left foot flat on the floor again, pointing the toes forward, tuck the right toes. With both hands on the inside of your left foot on blocks of the floor, let's come into wide pyramid pose. Lift the right knee, draw the left hip back towards straightening the legs, and extend your chest forward as you bow inside of the left shin. If your left hamstring is really open, you can lift the ball of your left foot flexed. Try to square your hips evenly to face the front. Keep a slight lift in the chest as you lengthen your neck. Parshvakonasana variation. Spin your right heel down and align your left heel to intersect the arch of your right foot. Cartwheel the arms and rise to warrior 2. Let's prepare for extended side angle. Wrap your left outer hip under as you bend the front knee, pointing towards your left pinky toe. Firm the top of your right thigh bone back and draw in the belly. Glide your hips sideways towards the rear wall as you lengthen your torso towards the front wall. Lightly place your left forearm on your left thigh and raise your right arm up. From the right shoulder, rotate the right tricep to face your right wall and extend that arm overhead while drawing both of your shoulder blades down your back. Spin your chest slightly towards the sky. Now, if it's available, you could place the left hand on the floor or a block to the left side of your left leg, making sure you're continuing to lengthen the left side of your torso. Let your feet be heavier than your left hand. Steady your gaze and let's listen to 4 more breaths in Utthita Parshvakonasana, extended side angle pose. Press to your feet, inhale, rise and side bend towards your rear wall, left arm overhead, peaceful warrior. Exhale your hands to the floor, optional vinyasa or cat-cow, maybe child's pose. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Pause for at least 2 breaths, slowing down your breathing. When you've emptied the next breath, walk or float to the top of your mat. Let your feet come together to touch. Place 2 blocks on their tallest height, about a foot in front of your feet, shoulders distance apart. Then bend your knees, inhale to chair, join your hands at your heart. Let's come into a figure 4 shape here. Rotate the right thigh externally, flex your right foot and cross the ankle over your left thigh, and then see if you're able to sit a little lower. Evenly draw the hips back as you firm the belly in. Optional to raise your arms. Optional to place your hands down on blocks. We're here for about 4 more breaths. Now with your left hand on your left hip, rise up to stand with your right knee in front of you. Draw the right hip down and either hold your outer knee with your right hand or bring the right arm inside the leg and clasp the big toe with your right peace fingers if you'd like to straighten the leg some degree. Rotate the right thigh externally and begin to open the right leg out to its side, open the left arm to its side, and you're in hand to big toe pose. Uttita Hasta Parangushtasana. If you want to make your balance more challenging, gaze over your left shoulder. Start to bring your right leg in front of you. Option to bend the knee and hold the outer knee as we enter a twist. With your right hand, draw the right hip down, press into the ground, and stand a little taller. If you want to keep your right leg straight, catch the outer foot with your left hand and kick your foot into your hand as you pull it. As you exhale, turn your chest to the right. Maybe reaching your right arm behind you, maybe gazing towards it. So adding on incrementally, find the extent at which it makes sense for you to enter this pose. We are not overdoing or underdoing. Last 3 breaths. Parita, Uttita Hasta Parangushtasana. Start to look forward. Step the right foot to meet the left. Let your feet touch. Bend your knees together. Inhale back to Utkatasana. Turn out the left thigh and flex the foot. Cross the ankle over the right thigh. Draw your hips back from your belly in. Option to raise the arms. Option to place the hands on blocks. Few more deep breaths. Start to rise, bend the left knee in front of you, bring your right hand to your right hip. Draw the left hip down and either keep the left knee bent and hold the outer knee with your left hand, or bring the left arm inside the leg and clasp your big toe, straightening the leg. Turn out the left thigh and begin to open it out to its side, open the right arm too, entering hand to big toe pose. Optional to add on and gaze over your right shoulder. Bring your left leg in front, catch the outer foot, or bend the knee and catch the outer knee with the right hand. With your left hand, draw the left hip down and stand taller as you breathe in. Then twist to your left, breath by breath. Maybe reaching the left arm behind you, maybe looking towards your left hand. Twisting hand to big toe pose. Parita Uttita Hasta Parangushtasana. Looking forward, gently step the left foot down. Let's turn to face the wide width of your mat and prepare for a wide-legged forward fold. Bring the blocks with you because after that you may want to have the option to use them. So as you step the feet wide apart, place the blocks in front of you and parallel your feet to each other. Then bring your hands to your hips. Roll your shoulders back and breathe in, lift your heart. As you breathe out, shift your weight forward, align your hips with your ankles and hinge from the hips. Try to cultivate the feeling of a flat back. Lower your hands on your blocks or on the floor. Press down with your hands and inhale, lift your heart through the gates of your arms. Keep your neck long, and if it's available, walk your hands further back. Now, those of you that have no neck issues and headstand is part of your practice, you might move into tripod headstand, making sure that your arms stay parallel to each other, where you can step your knees onto your upper arms, maybe extend the legs straight up. Now, if you are practicing headstand, I invite you to choose a hip opening, whether you straddle the legs straight apart or wrap one leg over the other into eagle pose and then switch the leg on top after a few breaths. Those of you in a standing forward fold, you might choose to clasp your big toes and pull yourself deeper inward while creating space in your neck by lifting the shoulders up as you drop your head down. Last 5 breaths where you are. With your feet on the ground, press your hands forward and inhale, lengthen the spine forward. Turn out both legs, Skandasana, bend the knee that is at the rear of your mat. Turning out both legs, straighten the opposite leg and flex that foot. Now you can have your hands on blocks here on the floor, or if you're able to lower the pelvis, you can cross one arm in front of the thigh that has the knee bent and then raise the opposite arm up. Rotate your chest towards the sky or wrap the arms. Couple more breaths. Now making sure both thighs are turned out, protect your knees and come through center in a wide-legged squat. Then switch sides, bend the knee that is pointing towards the front of your mat, straighten the opposite leg and flex that foot. You might have hands on blocks, you might lower the pelvis and cross one arm in front of the knee that's bent and the opposite arm towards the sky as you rotate your chest towards the ceiling. Maybe bind. Now be mindful of your knees, so rotate from your hip sockets, lower the hands in front of you, and spin your back leg internally from the hip socket to come into a lunge facing the front of your mat. Then step back to downward facing dog. Let's prepare for single pigeon pose with the option to move into king pigeon. Turning out your right thigh at the hip, cross the shin in front of your pelvis and lower to sit with your left leg straight behind you. Frame your hips with your hands and lift your pelvis. Draw the right hip back and rotate your left outer hip forward. See that your right knee is pointing towards your right wall, not towards your front wall. Now, if your right shin comfortably parallels the front edge of your mat, make sure you're flexing your right foot. Now you can fold forward or king pigeon. You bend the left knee and backstroke the left arm to catch the inner side of your left ankle or foot. You could stay here. You could take it into mermaid where you hook the top of the foot into the crook of your left elbow and clasp the hands overhead behind you. Or king pigeon entails holding the left toes with both hands, pointing the elbows forward no wider apart than shoulders distance, diving deeper into the back bend where you draw the shoulder blades down, seal the bottom front ribs in. Whatever you're practicing right now, tune into 4 more breaths. Gently start to step back into downward facing dog. You might take a moment there to raise the right leg and shake it out. Or if you're feeling very strong in your core and shoulders, flip it over into wild thing. Stepping the ball of your right foot outside the left edge of the mat and lifting the pelvis high as you drop the head back. Coming back to downward facing dog. Turn out your left thigh at the hip. Cross the left shin in front of your pelvis and lower to sit with your right leg straight behind you. Frame your pelvis with your hands and lift the pelvis. Draw the left hip back and rotate your right outer hip forward, squaring your hips towards the front of your mat. Now I invite you to practice the same version of the pose as you did on the first side, but be mindful of how deep you go. Listen to what this side of your body needs. About 4 more breaths here. Slowly make your way back to downward facing dog. And maybe lift the left leg up high, maybe shake it out. Or if you did so on the first side and your shoulders are healthy, you might flip it over into wild thing, the back bend. Then make your way to stand on your knees as we prepare for our last few back bends with 3 rounds of camel pose. Let's start with a block, hugging the skinniest width of it between your knees and thighs. This offers stability for the lower back. Tuck your toes behind you and start with your heels high. Backstroke your arms and place your hands on your lower back, fingertips pointing down. With your hands, press your hips gently forward. Keep your pelvis directly above your knees, the whole posture. Lift your back ribs and actively stretch your tailbone downward towards the block. Lengthening the lower back will focus on bending right under the shoulder blades. Hug the elbows closer together to open the chest. Then inhale, lift your chest. Peel the shoulder heads behind you and start to bend right under the shoulder blades to tilt your heart and gaze up. Give it 5 deep breaths before you lift up and come to sit. Now, if it's reachable on the first round, you can drop one hand and hold the heel right under it. Switch heels, switch hands, or hold both heels. Remember to keep your pelvis forward, right above your knees. Use your hands on your lower back to support you as you lift your spine vertically again. And then find a comfortable way to sit briefly for about 2 or 3 breaths while you notice anything that you're feeling. Come back to your intention again. Come back to the mindfulness quality that you're focusing on cultivating. Self-compassion, non-striving, self-reliance, letting be, equanimity. And bring that into how you practice round 2 of 3, camel pose, Ustrasana. Now you can decide to hug the block or not, whether or not you feel you need that extra support for your lower back. If you reached your heels comfortably with your toes tucked, you can go a little further and untuck the toes if you like. So take it on your own for 5 or more breaths. Then lower to sit for 2 to 3 breaths. And when you're ready, practice your last Ustrasana camel pose on your own, 5 to 10 breaths. Pause for 2 to 3 breaths. tuning inward. Let's prepare for a seated spinal twist. Please bring your legs in front of you as you sit tall. Remember, you could sit up on a prop if that helps you to sit tall. Choose to either step your right foot in front of your right hip or cross the foot outside of your left knee, where you could also bend your left knee. Place the right hand on the ground behind your pelvis. Press your sitting bones down, lifting your left arm. Sit taller as you breathe in. Keep the shoulders relaxed and the hips still while you twist to the right as you breathe out. Hold on to your right leg with your left hand, or hook the elbow outside of it, continuing for 4 more breaths as you twist. On your exhalation, unwind your spine and let's switch sides. Try to set up the same way as you did on the first side. Left hand behind the pelvis, right arm up. Sit tall as you breathe in. Twist to the left as you breathe out, holding your left leg. Or hooking the elbow outside of it. 4 more breaths. As you unwind, drop your knees apart and join your feet, soles of your feet, for Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. Sit tall, inhale, and then exhale, begin to hinge from your hips. Press to your pelvis, lead from your chest. Inhale to slowly rise. Paschimottanasana, straighten the legs in front of you and flex your feet. Optional to place a strap around the balls of your feet as an extension of your arms. Optional to clasp the big toes. So ground your sitting bones, lengthen your spine, and begin to hinge from your hips with each exhale. Keep a slight lift in your chest and your throat open so that your shoulders are relaxed. Press down through your pelvis, breathe in to slowly rise. Please find a comfortable way to sit as we practice another pranayama to help ground in relaxation. So sit in a way that you can feel open in your body to breathe well, relaxed and alert. I invite you into a practice that is specifically to calm the nervous system, especially in moments of anxiety or when stress is triggered. It's easy to remember as well. It's called box breathing or Samavriti Pranayama. We'll be breathing all through the nose, so the lips are closed, very gentle, slow breaths. We'll inhale for a count of 4, hold the breath for a count of 4, exhale a count of 4, hold the breath a count of 4, and that's 1 cycle. Let's practice 2 cycles together and 3 cycles on your own. As you practice, you might bring the hands in a gesture or mudra that promotes grounding, which is thumb and index fingers touching, palms face down in the lap. Another gesture that promotes equanimity, if that's the mindfulness quality you're focusing on, is to stack the palms face up on the center of your lap with thumb tips touching. You might also close the eyes. Prepare to begin box breathing by emptying this breath. Through the nose, inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Second cycle, inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep going 3 more cycles on your own. When you finish, let go of controlling your breathing. Notice anything that you feel. Please start to lower your body entirely onto the floor, finding a comfortable way to rest in stillness for a few minutes of Shavasana, corpse pose. Resting a little longer, bring awareness back to your physical body. Notice what you're feeling physically. Slowly and gently begin to move your body little by little. Easing out of stillness, gradually turn over onto your right side and rest your head. Pausing there, bring awareness to the breath just as it is. Notice how you're feeling now energetically. Then slowly lift your body up into a comfortable seat, preparing for 5 minutes in meditation. You might gesture your hands again in a mudra of stacking the palms, promoting evenness of mind or equanimity or grounding. Close your eyes or steady a downcast gaze. Bring your awareness to an anchor that you choose. It could be the feeling of the natural breath in one specific location in your body. As you rest your awareness on the breath, notice what comes and goes. Thoughts, sounds, feelings, sensations, and then come back to the breath each time you notice. And bring your awareness to your mind and heart and sense how you're feeling now mentally and emotionally. And call to mind something you appreciate right now. Bring gratitude to yourself as well for the efforts you put into your highest well-being. And then remind yourself of what you decided to focus on today. Which mindfulness attitude, what was your intention? And how might you bring that into where you go next, how you experience the rest of your day or week, integrating your practice? Call to mind to whom you dedicated today's practice and allow a moment to picture them receiving benefit. Let's close together chanting Om 3 times, sending and receiving that vibration of love. Om. Om. Bow in, honoring the light within. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.